Welcome to the Get Busy Pod, #1 podcast for hustlers. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Get Busy Pod. I have a very special guest with me, #1 podcast for hustlers. We wanted to bring out an amazing hustler. But first and foremost, I have my co-host with me.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? 40 here.
And like I said, I wanted to bring on a hustler. I wanted to bring on a great friend, great business partner, someone that's very valuable, very knowledgeable at what he does. And I'm going to have him actually introduce himself.
Real estate with MJ here, aka Michael Jimenez, the real estate GOAT. I'm from Lawrence, Mass, born and raised, and I'm just trying to get it going, just like you folks.
Absolutely, bro. So you grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts. Obviously, it's not the easiest, right? There's people that grow up in better areas than us, and they have an easier path. Talk to me about early life growing up. How was it? What were things you had to experience? And did you use things like that to fuel you in your future?
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about upbringing and background, we'll need like 2 days worth of podcast when it comes to my life, because it's pretty complex. But I would say this. You know, we all come from a distinct background, not the most fortunate. We don't have, mama money or papa money, you feel me? So it definitely did influence me to be a go-getter and try to find those opportunities, because we didn't have them. So we had to create them.
Amazing.
Yep.
First most, great choice right here. This is champagne.
Yeah. Ballet, rosé. For you boys. I appreciate you for having me, brother. This is an honor for sure, man.
Stay in tune, guys. You definitely got to try. So, what's going on, Mickey? So, I've been knowing you for quite some time, quite some years.
Yeah.
I know the environment that you grew up around.
Yep.
And I know the career that you're pursuing now. So, my question to you is, me knowing the environment that you grew up around that is very different from what you're doing now, what made you choose the route that you chose now and not the other route?
Man, I think you just get tired, bro. I think you just get tired of folks not offering opportunities, or opportunities being, neglected from you. Like when you go get it, they say no. Mm-hmm. I got tired of the no's. That's another one. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I wanted something different. I wanted to change the tone for my family. I wanted to change the tone for my friends. I wanted to change the tone for myself. I just felt like you mentioned, and like I mentioned earlier, we come from distinct backgrounds, and me in particular, I had a very complex upbringing. So I just felt like I wanted more, not only for myself, but for those around me. So I'm like, if they could do it, I could do it too. And I think that's what got the ball rolling. I think that was the first initial thing. Like, okay, this guy could do it. I could do it too. I got inspired, bro. I got inspired by a lot of folks that were doing what I wanted to do. And, it wasn't far-fetched. The idea wasn't far-fetched of me being able to go and get it. Because, again, if they could do it, I could do it too, and so can you guys.
Absolutely. Amazing. What advice do you have for the youth that's coming up in order for them to not lose track of themselves and actually do what they call the correct thing?
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, that's a hard question. I work for, I'm not going to mention the system, but I work for public schools for a specific city, and I get that question all the time from staff and from students and from parents too. Like, they just want me to share advice, share game, and it's a hard question because it's subjective to each individual. But I would say this. This is the something that I've lived by, and something that I have written in my office, something that in my first published article from Northeast Real Estate Producers, this is what I put. It is follow your honest beliefs and stay strong. That just essentially means you want to be a football player, go for it and stay strong, because there's going to be a lot of trial and tribulations that are going to go against you. That's my best advice. Whatever it is you want to pursue, whatever it is that you want to do with yourself, just follow it. Follow your honest beliefs and stay strong. This world is hard. There's a lot of competition. You know, the dollar value is not the same as it was before when we were growing up, for example.
Yep.
I mean, when we were growing up, I remember we used to go to the store. $1 would take you a long way,
Long way.
it's not the same no more. So
You guys remember when we used to go, when we were in middle school, we used to have $1. We used to go to the store and come out with 4 chips,
Damn,
2
good
juices.
times.
yeah,
Nowadays, you go to the store with $1, you probably come out with 1 chip.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a Dorito.
Mhm.
And it's like you realize, you think about it, you're like, wow, like the change is drastic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely
And
agree with
and
you.
no, again, competition is at all-time high. I feel like this generation has it hard.
Mhm.
I feel like back in the day, let's say back in the Wall Street days, there was only specific guys controlling everything. Right now, there's a lot of people controlling different industries and a lot of there's more billionaires than there's ever been in our lifetime. So again, man, just to close that off, follow your honest beliefs and stay strong. I heard that from a movie from back in the day. I think it was actually Robert Kardashian, attorney Robert Kardashian, who said that. And that kind of stuck in my head. This was like 10 years ago that I heard this.
Mhm.
And it has always been in my head, dude. That's my
Yeah.
best advice.
And to chime in on that advice, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and there was someone that got arrested from the city.
Yeah, yeah.
And the person was making excuses as to why that person grew up the way they did, and it's like I had to tell them, like, at the end of the day, you can either make $1 million or a million excuses.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter where you come from. Like, there's always 2 types of people. There's a person that's gonna make an excuse as to why they ended up the way they did, and there's a person that's gonna make it out of the things that they came through.
Right, right.
You feel me? And it's like, just because we come from the city doesn't mean that we can't be bigger. You know what I'm saying? You can't make that excuse for yourself just because you've seen certain things growing up or you've been around certain things. You can't be something. Like,
Word.
if it's in you and you want to be successful, you can 100% be successful.
1,000%. And can I just add on to that? I think something that stood out was the whole city and where we come from. Dude, I think people fail to notice, just specifically talking about Lawrence, which is where we're from, there's a lot of successful people that came out of Lawrence.
A lot.
I mean, I'm not even going to mention names, but we have artists, we have poets, we have politicians, we have army guys, entrepreneurs, realtors, brokers. I mean, a lot of huge brands and names come from Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with you that there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Oh, you're from so-and-so city, the ghetto. No.
Mm-hmm.
Get that out of your head.
Speaking on what you said earlier on people looking for excuses, something came to my mind. So I'm a big fan of Eric Thomas. I listen to him all the time. Shout out to you. He did say something in a speech. He said, so his father wasn't there for him. And the excuse that his father had was, your mother said. And he basically asked his dad, how dare you say my mother said? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like there is no excuse. Excuses don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's what you use to. Excuses are justifications for your lack of effort and your lack of work.
Yep.
At the end of the day, not everybody has it easy. Some people do, some people don't. But at the end of the day, we're all still trying to reach the same finish line.
Excuses are just that. Excuses.
I
you
always
feel me?
tell people this: think as life as a 10K mile run. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if you get there first. Just get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
10K mile run is not easy. It is not easy. So the fact that you're able to accomplish that shows that you have the potential to be a successful person. You don't have to be the first person to get there. You could be the 100th person to get there, but you still made it. Not
Word.
Everybody's able to do that.
Word. And to chime in off of that, something that I've also learned from Eric Thomas and something that he always says is that all men are created equal.
Shout out to Eric Thomas.
Facts. Shout out to him. All men are created equal. Some work harder in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that. Some work harder than others.
Thanks. Absolutely.
Others make excuses. We're not here to make excuses, man.
Yep.
We're here to get it done.
Absolutely. And there's a quote that and I'll end it with this. There's a quote that I resonate with. It says, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right."
Shout out to that too, 100%.
Right? If you believe you can do it, you can. If in your mind you say you can't do it, before you even start, you already lost. But you mentioned a bunch of successful people within the community, right? Which leads me to my next question: why real estate? You're successful in what you do, right? Before you got into that field, what made you get into that field? What did you see? Is it something that you saw? Is it someone you spoke to?
Word. So, um, so real estate. The word real estate kind of goes back into my middle school days. Because when I was in middle school, that's when the HBO shows and HBTV shows of like house renovations and all that good stuff. That's when they were first getting publicized and they were kind of catching a momentum. And somehow, one way, shape, or the other, it landed on my TV. I was always used to be in the house watching TV and stuff like that. So I remember I used to watch those shows and I found it really, really interesting. Of course, I'm a kid, so I can't really do anything with that thought process. But later on in high school, I again saw it through YouTube. I saw it through the TV, and then I also saw a couple different folks that were in my life at the time that were doing it, and they were telling me how how good it was going for them, and that just kind of encouraged me to want to explore it more. So that's when I was like a sophomore in high school, that's when I started researching it a little bit more. Excuse me. I started YouTubing it. I started asking a lot of questions, taking on meetings with my lifelong mentor, Tyler, which I'll speak on a little bit later on. And it just kind of came into fruition, man. But to answer the question, it started in middle school. Couldn't really do anything. Then I kind of followed up in high school. And I really got my education going in the sense of like, oh, this is how you get licensed. This is how what you need to do to get clients. This is who you need to work for, et cetera, et cetera. And throughout the time, I got more and more embedded into that life. And I was like, you know what? This seems like a good fit for me. I'm going to do it. And later on, as we talk, I'll touch more on Tyler, my lifelong mentor, and I'll touch on what factored into me getting licensed at such an early age in 3 states and stuff like that. But yeah, so, middle school and high school shows, YouTube and stuff like that.
So when you initiated your real estate career, did it take you a while to see results? And at any point during your journey, did you ever get demotivated?
Yeah, man, you bound to get unmotivated. You bound to, be like, oh, F this shit. I'm not gonna do it anymore. And but you know what? I did go into the industry with my head on and prepared because again, I was already in talks with different folks and I was already getting mentored. So I was kind of mentally prepared to getting a lot of no's and taking a lot of time to get money and such, but I think that my positive thinking was what made me get going really early on. Like I remember I got licensed. I sent out my licenses in July, and then I got licensed in the first 2 states by October, and then I want to say by November, December, I closed my first house, and then I also closed my first lease. And I remember it was with you. You were my first business lease when you were doing the clothing shop, right? And then my uncle bought his single family literally a week afterwards. So people that were in my inner circle were actually my first clients, which I'm really grateful for, by the way. So it didn't really take that long for me to get my foot in the door, and it was because, again, I was mentally prepared. I already knew I had to go hit up so-and-so. I had to post on Facebook, post on Instagram, make a LinkedIn profile, reach out to everybody, let them know that I'm into real estate and that I'm going to be taking this on full time. And I think that people saw that I was really motivated and that I was really going to be taking this, to the next level. I was really embedded in it. So it didn't take me long. It took me, I want to say, 2 months to close my first deal. And it was just like a domino effect there on after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I did my research obviously before we got on the podcast, and I seen the average realtor is closing anywhere from 6 to 12 deals a year. Right now, you're someone that you instantly, as soon as you got into the industry, you know, you started to see a lot of success, right? What separated you from the average person, right? The average person is closing 6 to 12 deals, 12 deals a year,
Yeah.
right? You came into the game and you landed running, right? What were some things that you were doing different than the average realtor in order to make that possible?
Yeah, yeah, and before I even answer that, it's actually so the average realtor nationally in the United States, they close 4 deals.
Oof.
So it's not even 6 to
Even
12.
even
It's
even
4.
less.
Yes, 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 yes. I know. It's crazy to think that because you would think business would flow a little bit more than that.
Wait,
but
do you think they did that to motivate people to become realtors, or
no, brother, no. I
because they're
know.
lying about the numbers? So I'm trying to understand what's going on.
No, brother, and you know what? I actually seen it in real life. I mean, I remember when I started. I started with a lot of other folks who started at the same time, and like I was closing deals, and it took them 2 years to close their first year. I mean, I seen it, and,
Yeah.
and closing a deal is really really hard. Otherwise, a lot of people would be doing it.
Absolutely.
But um, it's four deals average, right? And the reason why for me it was a lot more than that was because I was putting in the work, man. I was doing a lot of freebies. I was hitting up every realtor, every broker that I know, every team leader, and I was like, dude, put me down for your open house. I'll do it free of charge. I'll make cold calls for you. I'll show your clients the houses. I was just doing free work, dude. The first year of my career, I was doing a lot of free work, and anybody who was around at the time could attest to that. And I think that doing that free work essentially helped me land deals because the way that real estate works is kind of, I don't want to say on 100%, but kind of is a popularity contest. People see that you're doing work and you're working and you're out there, they're going to want to work with
Absolutely.
you. So while I was doing free work for other realtors, I would show open houses. I would publicize, oh, come by Saturday, Sunday. Those were not my listings. But people would assume they were my listing, and they saw I was out every weekend. I was working every day. They were like, this guy's active. Let me give him a chance. And just like my uncle, like you, like other folks, they were just like, let me give him a chance. And that they did. Thank God at that time I had folks that were telling me, not telling me what to do, but educating me and telling me how to write offers, telling me how to talk to people, how to defend myself in this world. And once those clients came to my table, I kind of had a gist of what I was doing already. And if I didn't know something or I didn't know an answer to a question, I would just ask my mentors at the time. What separates me and a lot of the realtors is that I have a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I am a go-getter. I do not sleep until I execute. I have that embedded in my heart. I need to execute before I could peacefully sleep at night. And that while most realtors want to work, part-time, I wanted to work overtime. I was working like 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week for free. And I think that God saw that, and I think the algorithm of my industry saw that, and it caught on, and thank God it worked out.
So in the world, there's a lot of what we call grumps. So difficult people to deal with. How do you work with these clients? How do you keep your patience, your composure? How are you able to get your way through these people? We want to know, man, because I know you've definitely bumped into a few of those. So we definitely want to know what you do to make it happen. Do you usually walk away? Do you try to keep working with them?
No, I never walk away. No deal is ever too tough for me. And I've said this multiple times. I've done it over and over again. I don't ever walk away. I get the job done. Like I told you guys earlier, I don't sleep until I execute. So let's say I get a knucklehead or just a complex deal. The way that I take it is by positivity, man. Just thinking of what the outcome could be. Man, you're going to get paid at the end of this. you're gonna, they're gonna be grateful of you. You're gonna change their lives. You're gonna, help them create something. So you don't gotta. The way that I think about it is like, don't think for right now. Think about the future. Think about what the outcome is gonna be, and what the impact that you're gonna create by doing this. So, I do get a ton of hard clients, tough folks to deal with, and I got stories for days, man. I got stories for days, but I would just say, like, be positive, think about the future and the outcome and the impact that you're gonna create, and don't think about money.
Mm-hmm.
Think more about, these people are now gonna trust me, and they're gonna see that you could work with them, and they're gonna be grateful of that. Because I think a lot of people, they know they're difficult to work with, and they intentionally want to be difficult so that they could either get the best deal,
Mm-hmm.
they could. There's something that comes with that, and also I think it just makes you a better person.
For sure.
I think that when you deal with tough clients, and you deal with those tough transactions, it makes you a better entrepreneur. It makes you a better realtor. It makes you, whatever you're doing, it just makes you better. So I take them head on, brother. I take them
Absolutely.
head on.
And there's a book that I recommend to all viewers as well. I don't know if you've read it yet. But it's a book I recommend to everybody when it comes to dealing with a lot of clients. Sometimes you might deal with clients that have anger issues, they're annoying and things like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're humans. We're going to feel angry sometimes. We're going to feel annoyed. There's a book. It's called Emotional Intelligence. And that book, it really focuses on just controlling your emotions, because you can't run a successful business if you're arguing with your clients. If you're always bumping head with your clients, you have to understand. You have to be the bigger person. You're the one that offers the service. You have to stay calm, cool, and collect. That's what the people look for. So if you're watching this, you're a business owner, you're looking to get into business, it's a book I definitely recommend.
100%. And
Pay attention.
again, it's just, I think you said something that's very important. You're the one that is putting out the service.
Mhm.
So technically, they don't need to work with you. You're the one that needs to get paid.
Absolutely.
So you just need to think more of, like, you need to have like a CEO mindset, because as a CEO, you're gonna have good employees, bad employees, intermediate, right? And you gotta be able to handle all those type of employees. Same thing with clients. You gotta be able to handle the good ones, the bad ones, and the intermediate.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to bring you on here because obviously you're a valuable person. You're very hardworking. You know what you're talking about, right? Now, let's talk about the home buying process. Now more than ever, and I'm not saying it's the right time, but now more than ever, a lot of people, I see you guys closing deals left to right.
Mhm.
A lot of people are starting to buy houses. A lot of people are inquiring on buying homes and making their first purchase, right? Can you walk us through or tell us a little bit about the home buying process and how it works? Because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the basic knowledge. They don't know exactly what steps to take. And I feel like you would be the perfect person to break that down for someone that's watching, that's looking to make that, first move for themselves.
For sure, brother. So I would say a lot of people make it too complex, more than it has to be. I think the best way to put it, the way that you determine if you're ready to buy or not, is if you got a credit score of 620 preferred and above,
Okay.
right? You could start at 580, but I prefer 620 and above, right?
Mhm.
You have 2 years of consistent work history and tax returns,
Mm.
and you have the down payment closing costs available. That is the first step. As soon as you have those three things, you could then hit me up via Instagram, via my phone number, and spark that conversation. I think that instead of trying to do everything by yourself, consult with a professional. It does not matter, at least to me, it does not matter if you're going to buy now or if you're going to buy in 2, 3 years. If you want to have a conversation with me, I'm going to educate you. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. So if you have those three things, just hit me up. Let's sit down and I'll put the rest of the things into perspective. It's a very easy process. I think the hardest part of buying a house is getting the documents ready, signing a whole bunch of paperwork, and making sure that you have the funds allocated for this purchase. You don't have any funny business going on. If you have all of that ready, I don't think you need to complicate it anymore. Just consult with a professional,
Okay.
and then that professional is gonna sit you down, and they're gonna be like, Ru, you're ready to go right now, or they're gonna be like, Ru, at least I'm gonna be like, Ru, you have this ready, you have that ready. We just need to work on your credit, for example, and then I'll send them to Getbusy Ru.
Do you,
Um,
do you guys take bitcoins?
you know what? Funny enough, yeah. No. Funny enough, so
I'm just
they
saying,
are.
You guys take ETH too?
No. So funny enough, there are different brokers that have accepted like Dogecoin and
Fire.
Bitcoin as the capital to purchase a property.
Fire.
Typically, we see that in like Western states. I want to say like California, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really seen that besides one time here in Massachusetts. But I have read those stories and I have seen successful closings come from it. So as funny as it is potentially gonna be a thing in the future.
Fire.
I don't know if it's gonna be full blown right now, but in the future, I don't think that's far fetched.
Okay.
You know, and just going back before I let that one go again, if you have a credit score of 620 and above, you have the savings allocated for the purchase, and you have good and consistent work history, just spark the conversation. If the professional is good enough, they're gonna make everything else fall in line, you know? Don't complicate it. It's not that hard. Again, I think that the hardest part is the el papeleo, right? The paperwork and signing a lot of stuff. But when you're house shopping and I go show you this condo or this multifamily, I think that's a blessing, is an experience, is a good thing. Being able to look at different houses, see, you know, what this kitchen is made out of, what this barn is made out of. It's a good experience, and by realistically speaking, by the time that you're done buying, you should be learning a lot. And I think that I try to make my business like that, very experienceful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talked about having the funds in order to purchase a home. Now, I know out there's, you know, government assistant programs that, you know, can help you reduce the amount that you have to put down for a home, or they can sometimes, even with certain programs like I think NACA, they remove the closing costs and things like that. So you obviously have a lot of clients. What programs are you recommending to your clients that the average person might not know about that they can start to look into themselves?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I would say NACA is a good one, right? But also there's Mass Dreams, there's Mass Housing, and there's specific grants with the cities. And of course, I'm going to touch on each one. But there's different ones that you could look into. And the professional that you work with is going to educate you on all of those choices. That's why I say that who you work with really does matter, because they could either make you or break you. As far as the down payment assistance goes, there's great programs that the state offers through Mass Housing. They offer up to $30,000 anywhere in Massachusetts for down payment assistance. So if you wanted to buy in Methuen, you wanted to buy in Boston, whatever area in Massachusetts you're buying, they'll help you up to $30,000 of your down payment and closing costs, right? There's also what was popular, I want to say 2 years ago, and will be coming back on this upcoming year. So please get in touch with me if you want to get in touch, if you want to get educated in that. And it's Mass Dreams. Mass Dreams was offering up to $50,000 in free grant money.
There you go, fellas.
Free grant money, and the reason I'm saying free grant money is because you did not need to pay it back. A lot of people did take advantage of it. I did have a client who did do the Mass Dreams program. He got $25,000. He never has to pay that back. And as of right now, the funds have been depleted for this calendar year, but I'm sure for 2025 we're gonna see it again. And if you want free money through Mass Dreams, the lender that you work with, the realtor that you work with, the team of professionals that you work with matters. Is going to be important because a lot of people are more educated than others on how to get those funds. So get in touch with me if you want up to $50,000 in free grant money that you do not need to pay back, you guys. You do not need to pay back for this upcoming year. Aside from that, yes, certain cities, and I want to say most cities and towns, have their own down payment assistance programs. Like I know Lawrence also has up to 40 or 50 grand that they give out to Lawrence residents that want to buy in Lawrence, but they have like specific requirements and stuff like that, which I'm more than happy to educate anybody who wants to, reach out to me and such. Um, Man, so many different programs. Again, NACA, Mass Dreams, Mass Housing, specific cities and towns. It's all about who you work with. I don't like that people feel like they need to save all of this money to make it happen. There's ways to make it happen. You just need the access and you need the education for it. You know?
Yeah, a lot of people are really not in tune with it. They just
Yeah.
they're very close minded, so they just think they just gotta come up with the money, and they don't really try to look into alternatives.
Yep.
And there's plenty of alternatives. There's plenty of programs. Plenty of people willing to help out there. And I feel like people should get out of that bubble of thinking that you gotta make it happen yourself. That's why credit exists.
Yep.
A lot of people become rich and they get paid off credit. Because they receive the help and they take advantage of it. So I feel like everybody should definitely look into that.
And there's no problem with needing more funds. Let's say that for some reason you only had 25, 30,000, and you're in a situation where you're overpaying in your rental. You're paying like 3,000, 4,000, however much you're paying, and you just need to get out of the situation, but you feel like you don't have that much funds to close. All you gotta do is just reach out and we'll get you taken care of, because there's scenarios in where, for example, a client's rent is 2,800, but I got them a single family in a good location and their monthly payment is like 3,200. Yeah, it went up by $300, $400, but the way that I see it, you now have more space, you now have a yard, you now have a garage. Is your house, so essentially whatever money or whatever monthly whatever monthly payment you're putting towards it is going back to you in some way, shape, or form. So don't be scared to look for the help.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say? Obviously, I know you work with a lot of people. You're talking to people on a daily basis, a lot of different clients. What would you say is the most common problem you and your clients deal with when it comes to closing on a home?
Credit. Credit. And
Okay.
I think you know where I'm coming from, because
Yeah,
I have reached out to you on various occasions of like, Ru, I need your help. 911. This is a mess. I need to get in touch with the credit bureaus, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, to answer the question, credit for sure. And the reason being is because I think that people need to work on their credit. They need to make sure that they clean it up as much as possible. Credit is a big factor when you're buying a house, because it influences your interest rate. The interest rate determines your monthly payment. Let's say you have a $500,000 loan, right? Somebody that has a 5% interest rate is going to pay much lower than somebody that has a 8% interest rate. You feel me? So where does the interest rate come? Again, your credit score. So you need to clean it up, make sure you get those late payments out, make sure all the information is correct, because I recently had somebody that didn't even have the right date of birth, and then I reached out to you to see if I could get some help, and he almost lost the house. Almost. He was this close. So I think money problems we could fix, right? We could inventory. There's always gonna be inventory, and we could find houses, but credit is 100% most important in this whole thing, to me at least, in my professional aspect.
Okay. And what would you say is an ideal? What would you say is a interest rate you want to aim for when it comes to closing on a home? Like for a client, let's say a client's inquiring on a home, they're looking to see how much they're gonna pay. They get their interest rate. Where do you want to stay? What range is a good interest rate?
You know, I would say that depending on how the interest is at that point, you want to go a little bit below that, 2 points. So at the beginning of the year, they were between 7 and 8, depending on the loan product. But I always either encourage the buyers to, get their credit score as up as possible so that they could go down to a 6 or 5, or buy points, which is something else that you could do. You could buy points so that your interest rates goes a little bit lower. But definitely you want to say between 4 or 5. These days it's kind of hard to get down there. There are strategies to get down there, like buying points, or if you get lucky with the specific lending company. Um, Obviously, if you snatch up a 2%, like my uncle did back in the day,
Damn.
that's phenomenal because he has a 4 bedroom, 3 bedroom house, and he
Damn.
only pays 1,300.
Wow.
That's
Because
amazing.
his yeah,
That's
because his
amazing.
interest rate is only 2.25% to be
Damn.
specific. And I actually have it. I took a picture of it, like a screenshot.
Was that
because
an
I'm very
opportunity
pretty.
that he found that, or
No. So back when I started, interest rates were really really low because it was COVID times, and
Mm.
during COVID times, interest rates were very very low because life was lifing, and the Feds just put down the interest rates to encourage home buyers to still go out there and buy houses to not let COVID affect their purchase, just to give them like an extra encouragement, and that it did. It worked phenomenal. A lot of people were buying back in 2020 and 2021. So
Dope.
my uncle was just, he bought it at a great time.
Okay.
I don't know if interest rates are gonna go that down again, but my hope is that they come close to it, because for first time home buyers, or young folks like us that want to buy in and want to live the American dream, interest rate is very important so
Absolutely.
that you
so?
don't overpay.
Now that you mentioned that, I got a brief question for you.
Yeah,
When you
shoot.
said American dream, do you think owning a house is part of the American dream? Because I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I know plenty of homeowners who
Are
are
going through
struggling,
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and basically it's the opposite from the American dream. And you would think that, you know, oh wow, this person owns a home, it's amazing, but it's not. It's quite not that. So I want to know, what do you mean by American dream? And in your opinion, is owning a home part of the American dream? And I want an honest, an
Absolutely.
honest input on that.
I would say this. Historically, and what we know about the U.S. and the politicians of the U.S., they push that narrative that yes, home ownership is part of the American dream, and it's a big factor of the American dream. Um, but my personal answer to that is that it's extremely subjective. It kind of depends who you are and what you're looking to accomplish, right? Because I know folks, the rentals, it just kind of makes sense for them because either they're not paying too much, or because they have amenities and they're entrepreneurs, and they want to have a gym, they want to have a pool, they want to have a garage so that they could put their Bentley in it. um, and yes, you could accomplish that through home ownership, but you got to understand that home ownership comes with a lot of responsibilities, and there's a lot of um, A class folks who work a lot that would prefer not to have that responsibility so that they could allocate their time to business or work, or whatever they own. So to answer your question, it's very subjective. It kind of depends what you're trying to accomplish in this country. Of course, it is to me is better to spend that money for yourself, and not let it go down the drain when you're renting. But I do also understand, because I was a renter at one point, that you coming to across these good rentals that just kind of make sense. The cost of living is at all time high right now. So if you find a good rental that doesn't charge a lot and you don't have that much responsibility, it kind of just makes sense,
Yep.
right? So
What percentage of these people do you think, of these homeowners or these home buyers, what percentage of them do you think regret, making this decision of buying a home in the long run and the short run? What percentage of them do you think regret it?
I think that is very low, and the reason for that is because not everybody's losing a job or popping out with kids, and or have a death in the family or divorce or whatever the situation is. not a lot of people are going. The average people, in average numbers, not a lot of people are going through it. You know, um, so I feel like it is. Of course, I don't know the real answer to this, but from what I've seen, I would say it's really low on the clients that I've worked with. Only like a few have reached out to me like, "Oh, Mike, I'm going through it. I need to sell. I need to do this." For the most part, I want to say that 80% of, uh, actually 85% of folks that have done any type of business with me are still happy. They're still growing equity in their house. They're still selling and getting a lot of that equity out and buying even better buildings, right? So I do think that home ownership brings a lot of opportunities that we often overlook by whatever is going on in our lives.
So, one last thing I want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
The number of irresponsible tenants nowadays, let's be honest, is very high.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say somebody buys a home, they have one home, it's just one home, no other home to make up for this one home they have. They just have one home. Um, let's say they have trouble getting responsible tenants in there.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think this person feels? Do you think this is one of the people who regret buying a home?
1,000%, brother. 1,000%. But you know what? I would tell them folks that next time, next time they are looking for tenants, they gotta go that extra mile. Because the only reason we get into situations where we have bad tenants is because we allowed those bad tenants to come into our lives by not pre-screening them, by not doing our research, by not running their credit score and evictions, right? By not looking at their job history, not really seeing how responsible they are, right? We need us as homeowners, right, and other homeowners, people who own complexes, future homeowners, we need to go that extra mile when we're betting these tenants, because the only reason, and actually, I wanna take it a step further. I wanna say, the majority of the time, the reason why they're in bad tenant situation is because they didn't do their homework and they didn't go that extra mile.
Absolutely.
You know, but I feel like if you pre-screen tenants and you really don't rush the process and go that extra mile to really bet your future tenants, you'll be fine. You'll definitely be fine.
And it's crazy because, like, with credit repair, it's the same thing. Like, before, like, when I offer any type of service and I'm giving out a loan or something like that, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, we call it a pre-qualification, where we'll check the client's credit score, we'll check their proof of income. We put them pretty much through like a background check to see if they have the funds available in order for us to, to offer them a service where they have to put no money down. So I definitely feel you on that. You spoke a little bit about people struggling when it comes to their homes. Refinancing is a thing too,
Of course.
right? So how does that work? Refinancing.
So refinancing, let's say that you bought this house in 2020 and 4 years have passed by and the market is just booming and the equity has gone up by a ton. You have the ability to essentially either cash out, refinance, and pull that equity out up to, I believe, 80 to 90%, depending on the lending company, or you could refinance regularly. Refinancing the traditional route, the regular route, is just sort of refinancing your interest rate. So let's say in 2020 you bought at a 6% interest rate, but today the interest rate dropped to 2%. Well, you have the ability to refinance to that 2%. Of course, you need to maintain your job history because the banks are gonna ask for that. You need to maintain your credit score. Everything when you're buying a house and when you're refinancing, they're the same.
Okay.
So you gotta treat it as such. But I do think that, and I'm so glad you brought it up because that is an opportunity that could help you alleviate different things. Let's say that you, Ruben, you bought a house 5 years ago and that the market is booming now so that, the equity has gone up by 200, 300,000. Well, now you have 300,000 to play with and you could even go and buy a building with that 300,000 and keep that house. So now you probably have, like, you bought a 15 unit in Fitchburg and you have a 3-family in Lawrence, for example, So refinancing in certain scenarios, and let me just say this: don't refinance just to refinance and pay off debt, or to go on vacations, or to buy the Gucci belt. Refinance, no, facts, guys, facts. Refinance for specific purposes, for specific investment purposes, because that money, at the end of the day, now you got a bigger loan that you got to pay in a bigger monthly payment, so you got to offset. Mm-hmm. So that's why I encourage people that if you're going to refinance, buy an investment property with it. Otherwise, stay put and don't touch it.
And would you say with the interest rates spiking the way they did, you said they started like, your uncle purchased property at 2%. Right now, we're looking at what, 5 to 7%, somewhere around there?
Yeah, 6%.
7%.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a buyer's market or is it a seller's market right now?
I would say it's very subjective. I think it's a
no,
very subjective.
No.
Yeah,
we want to hear it. We want to hear it. Listen. I need that over there because I want to hear this. We need to hear this.
No, you guys, it's facts, guys. It's facts. It's very subjective to each individual person and their scenario. I think that I've had folks that are not ready to buy. They have a lot of debt. If you have a lot of debt and you're trying to take out another debt, that's just kind of don't do it. It's stupid, right? But then I have other buyers that are financially ready and emotionally ready, and they're head on. They're ready to go despite interest rates being at 6-7%. Because you want to know what, 40? At the end of the day, you could refinance, you could sell. Sky's the limit with real estate. The reason I love real estate so much is because you could get creative. And let's say you were a seller and you wanted to sell your house right now in a booming market. Well, you're going to get the max, but it's going to be harder for you to buy because at the end of the day, it's a booming market. So I really do mean it when it's subjective to each individual person and what areas they're looking at. Some markets are harder than the other. Like Massachusetts, you can't just think about Massachusetts as one market. There's different markets in Massachusetts. Boston is booming. Mm-hmm. Lawrence is booming. Newton is booming. But that doesn't necessarily mean that X town is booming as well. So it's pretty subjective. I'm going to take the conservative route with this answer.
We're going to agree to disagree. I don't think I got the answer, I don't think I got a full, honest answer, but he gave us the runaround, but we're going to stick with that.
As a realtor, right, there's different ways that you create streams of income. Obviously, your main stream of income as a realtor is closing a deal, right? Now, are there different streams of income, or are there different things that you do to also create income as a realtor?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of ways that you could make money in this industry. I mean, you could be a buyer's agent, a listing agent, a combination of both like I am. You could be a rental guy or do all three, right? So those are three different routes. You could be a commercial agent that just sells commercial, or you could do all four, right? You could also, let's say you get really good at marketing yourself and you get really good at graphic designing and you get good at videography, photography. Well, then you could create your own business where you're offering these services to other realtors and brokers, right? So that's also another opportunity, which in fact, when I first began, I was doing that. I was not only selling real estate, but I was also offering my services of like marketing and being a showing agent, being an open house agent, those type of things. And I would charge them, pennies, but at the end of the day, I would still make some. Also, I think that this industry opens a whole lot of doors, right? So I know realtors that have become team leaders, and they have realtors that are under their wing. So if those realtors sell, they get a cut, right? So that's another way that you could make money. There's also what we call profit sharing. So that's when you're essentially just a realtor that tells you, join my company, and the company just goes out of their way to give you like a small percentage of whatever they close in the futures to come. So that's an extra chunk of money that you could keep every month or every year, right? You could flip, which I did at 19 years young. I flipped my first house. After I had a really good year. My first year I did really phenomenal, and those funds I allocated it to buying a 2-family house in Manchester, New Hampshire. I rehabbed it and then I sold it forward, so that was additional income. Sky's the limit, brother.
Fire.
Sky's the limit.
So you know, you and I had a previous conversation the other day. We went for lunch together.
Yeah.
And you did mention that around wintertime your job title seems to slow down. What you do? What do you guys do around that time or beforehand in order to stay put? You know, to just be set. Basically, is the question. Do you guys work harder around beforehand, like to be able to maintain around the time that it slows down, or what do you guys usually do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I will speak on my personal experience, right? So obviously wintertime, I feel like a lot of industries, if not most, kind of die down. Not 100%, but they're bound to die down just a little bit. You feel me? So when those scenarios happen, you gotta get mentally prepared to go through those obstacles and defend yourself in those when business is not just booming, when there's a lot of snow on the streets and nobody wants to get out of their house, when there's a lot of snow in the streets that you can't even take a picture of a listing because it doesn't show well, you know what I mean? So in those scenarios, it's like what I personally do is I already know that because I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and I know that at least for me, and this is not for everybody, let me just clarify, I know brokers and team leads that even during winter, they're still killing it, right? They're still killing it and they're still working. But for me, what I do is I'm already mentally prepared, so I work my butt off from January all the way to fall, whenever it gets cold. So typically in October, November, that's when it gets cold. And in December, I just kind of take a break. I'll go overseas if I need to. I'll take a little vacation, or I'll just stay put and do a lot of marketing. If let's say, because there has been years where I've sold during wintertime, I would just, market myself, become a walking billboard and be like, guys, I'm still active. Even if you want to see a condo in the weekend just to see it, let's go see it. I give them an extra word of encouragement that, it's not that bad that it's wintertime. Maybe you could use this to your advantage and negotiate yourself a great, phenomenal deal. Because let's say it does die down and not a lot of people are out buying and there's not a lot of listings, there's not a lot of movement. That could be a big plus for you as a buyer because you're not going to get outbid, you're not going to enter into competition, you're not going to be in those spots where obtaining the house that you want is kind of far-fetched, it's kind of harder. I feel like during wintertime, there's a window of opportunity for you to negotiate seller credits, for you to negotiate the price down, and for you to negotiate yourself a good deal. Actually, I'm going to take it a step further. I've had instances where I have this great Hindu guys that they buy all year long. They're great at numbers. They just care about numbers. They don't care what's going on. They don't care if the market's falling. They don't really care. They just numbers guy, and they want to build a portfolio. Those guys, they prefer buying in the winter because they know they could negotiate themselves a good deal. They're not going to get outbid. They're not going to go and enter into competition. So technically speaking, you could get yourself more opportunities during the winter.
That's very smart, actually.
Yeah.
If you have some kind of funds, then that's the best route to go about it.
Claro.
Do you think it's recession-proof or what?
I think it's a great business model. And I'll say this, man. Like, I feel like most businesses have a slow season. Most businesses have a point in time a year where it slows down. You look at restaurants, you look at Airbnb, you look at car rents, you look at restaurants. There's a point in time when people aren't traveling. There's a point in time when people don't like to spend a lot of money. Usually it's winter. People don't travel. Like, for me, my Airbnbs during the winter, they're slow. They're only hot, like, in hot areas like Miami and things like that. But for most of the part, my Airbnb in Connecticut during the winter is slow. People aren't traveling as much. People aren't renting cars as much. People aren't even going out to eat as much. Restaurants, they usually have something that's called, like, Restaurant Week. And that's when they have, like, steakhouses. the prices are cut down by like 30%.
Happy hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like every business has a slow season. So it does come with the game.
It could be a plus though, and like I mentioned, I think that depending on what it is, I want to specific talk about my industry, real estate. I think it creates a window of opportunity. So I would say, despite it being winter, summer, fall, spring, if you're ready, take it head on.
Mm.
Don't limit yourself. And I just keep working. I work. Well, I mean, you guys know me. I
Yeah.
work 24/7.
Of course.
7 days out of the year. 7 days out of the year. 7 days out of the week. 365 days out of the year. Yep.
About to say you have a good ass job.
Yeah.
Making
And,
this much 7 days out of the year.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, when you close a deal, right, there's people that are probably watching that want to get into the same exact industry as you, but they don't really know like how the profit works. So like, let's say you close a deal, is there a certain percentage that you get off of every single deal that you take home? How does that how does that look like?
Yeah. So percentages and commissions and all those structures are subjective.
Oh my god! Oh my
I know
god!
you hate that shit.
Dude.
Oh, they're subjective, and I'll explain. But no, I'll explain. I think
Don't sugarcoat it. We want to hear it.
No, and I'll explain. So
Okay.
it's subjective because everybody has a different contract. When I started, I could have done way better financially, but it's because I had a very shitty contract that I didn't do as good as I should have, and that's why I had to change things around, because I was saying that I was spending this much in advertisement, and then I would close this deal, but things were just not adding up, so I had to move. And I know, so to give you a breakdown, there's some realtors that do 60-40, so 60 to the realtor, 40 to the broker, right? There's other realtors that do 70-30, excuse me. There's others that do 80-20, 90-10, and then there's 100% brokerages. So it's all over the spectrum. It comes down to what you negotiate and who you want to work with. If we're talking specifically about me, I have a really phenomenal contract. Shout out to Jim D'Amico. He has done amazing for me. I mean, this is a company that I started with, and 4 or 5 years later, I don't see myself letting it go, just because he really goes out of his way to create the best contract for his realtors. He gave me a contract of 90-10. So to give you a perspective of what that looks like.
What's the catch?
No, there's no catch actually, which is why I'm grateful. To give you a perspective as to what this looked like, last week I closed a deal in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and the commission was $12,200. 90% of that would be, I want to say, like 11,000 around there.
Somewhere
And there's
around there.
there's like a small fee there. I don't want to disclose it because it is different for everybody in my company, and I just don't, But for me, it was an X number, so that brought me down to, I want to say 10,000, high 10,000s, right?
Great deal.
So I make most of my commission, but I do also know that there's realtors that are on 70-30 splits, and 70-30 splits, if you're, your commission is 10,000 per se, you're only gonna get 7,000.
Yep.
And let's say that it's 70-30, but there's fees. You gotta deduct whatever fees after that. So if there's MLS, transaction fees, whatever it is, you deduct it from the 7,000.
So I'm sorry. I'm.
Yeah, no.
I need.
Don't worry, I got you.
clarification.
I got
here.
you, Papa.
So back to what we mentioned in the beginning of the conversation. So four deals are closed yearly, right?
Mm-hmm.
From your job title.
Yeah.
4 years. And on average, what is the commission?
On average, so that I haven't researched, so I'm not gonna wing it and tell you a wrong number. But what I could say, a typical commission that we see around these areas is anywhere from 8 to 10,000.
So
Anywhere from 8 to 10,000. Yeah.
So let's say you close 4 deals a year, and you have a 70-30 deal.
That'll equate to less than 20,000
Yeah.
a year. Yep. So it's like you're working a part-time job almost. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm a little bit confused about, because I do see these full-time, realtors, and I'm trying to figure it out. What you guys are speaking, it kind of doesn't make any sense to me. But so basically, you would say that most of these guys are working that part time, or
100%. There's a lot of people, and you know what? I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone here and say this out loud. A lot of people have shitty contracts. A lot of people work for a lot of shitty people.
everywhere.
A lot of people don't go out there and see if there's more out there for them, you know? They don't try to negotiate their contracts. They don't go out of their way to ask questions, you know? They don't go out of their way to have conversations to see what everybody else is offering. I'm very happy of myself that I went out of my way because I just knew that there was more and that these numbers were not making sense for somebody who's running a business, because it doesn't matter if I started at 17, 18. I was treating my business as that, as a business. So when things were not adding up, and actually, I was on a 70-30 back then. So I was experiencing that same thing, but I was producing. So imagine those that were not producing. So yeah. A lot of people, despite them closing whatever they're closing, they're not really making as much money as you would think. And then there's other people that are making way much more money than you do think, you know?
Absolutely. And I'll say this about entrepreneurship, right? Like, in the beginning, when you start, you can't always expect to make a lot of money.
No.
Like, your first year in business, your first couple years in business are probably going to be slow. If you become successful in business after 5 years, that's fast, right? The good thing about business, though, even though you might make $30,000 a year, it's the fact that you have no ceiling. You can go from making $30,000 a year to making $500,000 a year, right? With a job, though, with a regular job, you have a ceiling, right? They can give you a raise, but you know it's typically how much you're going to be making. With entrepreneurship, based off your work ethic, based off the things that you're doing, you're going to have the opportunity to make as much money as possible. So you probably had, you probably closed 5-6 deals your first year, but after that, you started to go crazy. So never look at it as, they're making $30,000. There's winners and there's losers. Some people are not going to make that much, right? But those people that bust their ass year and year on, those are the ones that always become successful. So $30,000 don't matter to me.
So what would you recommend, though?
If I may, sorry for you, but if I may, no, I closed much more than that.
Oh, of course.
It wasn't 4 or 5. I closed, I want to say, under my name, it was 12 deals under my name, and then I was helping other realtors with like referrals and open houses, so I would add that onto it,
Round of applause to you.
Thank you.
That's three times the average, okay? Pay attention to the realtors, okay?
Yeah.
So, Ru, based off what you said, what do you think, like, should it be a part-time job for these people in the beginning, or what do you think? Because making $30,000-$40,000 a year is not gonna cut it. So
I say you make it a part-time job if you don't believe in yourself.
Bingo.
If you believe in yourself and
okay,
you're making $30,000 right now,
I'll take that.
right? Because it's not about where you at; it's about where you're going.
Yeah.
You can't look at the right now. You gotta look at the later. That's how I see it.
I'll take that. I'll definitely take that.
And I'm gonna say this. That's a great point, dude. Because when I first started, I remember I was working on Microsoft at that time, and what I did was I had an X amount of savings, and I was like, I feel like this amount of savings is gonna be enough for me to get by for the next 3 months. And I was like, you know what? I bet on me, and I'm gonna make it fucking happen. And that's exactly what I did. I quitted Microsoft. A great job.
I remember that.
They paid well, great benefits. I had a great leader.
I remember we used to work at Microsoft.
Yeah, it was an era too. But I left that and I betted on myself, and I never looked back. I actually, this year is the first year that I'm doing anything aside from real estate, but it's because I've gotten to the point where I have the quote unquote freedom to be able to touch into different industries like solar, like public schools, like nonprofits, and just putting my little bit grain of rice in my community, by doing different things.
So now that you mentioned solar, we are seeing that solar is becoming a popular thing. How would you compare it to the real estate business? How would you compare it? Is it something
you don't? I'm sorry, but you don't. Solar is great. It's a rewarding career for some, But when you put a sales rep for solar and a sales rep for real estate, they do not compare.
Mm.
We are
We're not saying you guys aren't good sales rep.
No, not at all.
There's nothing personal.
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Maybe I am, but who knows? Listen, what I'm saying is that our ethics in real estate are a little bit higher.
Mm.
If I may, exactly, yep. If I may put my personal opinion on this, I feel like sometimes, a good chunk of the times, the industry standards in solar are very low and they're, embedded into the money. And it's like we were mentioning earlier, you guys, it's not always about the money.
Facts.
Now, I do know a lot of sales rep that are phenomenal at their service and they offer the right products. And if you get the right product in your house, it could be very beneficial to you. I want to put this example. I have these folks in Haverhill. Her name is Diana. She has a single family and she put solar on her house. And before she was paying like $500 because it's a big single family in electrical bill. And right now she's only paying about $90 a year. And that's kind of fixed. So it's not going to go up. It's not going to go down. And that works out for her because she's a single lady, no help. And I think that for things of that nature, it just kind of makes sense. Now, also a great other scenario that I have for you. I know a ton of investors that own either, farms or big complexes of 10 plus units. I think for scenarios like that, it only makes sense to go solar because electricity is really high right now, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Electricity is up the roof and it only keeps going higher and higher. I want to clarify that there's nothing wrong with solar. I was just talking about sales rep only. But in terms of solar itself, it could be very beneficial because these different electrical companies are beating us in the ass with electricity. And I do think that if we educate ourselves in the different solar products, it could benefit us in the long run for sure. Before we divert, I know 100% in 10, 20 years from now, everybody,
solar,
everywhere,
all about solar.
everything is going to be electrical, solar, and high efficiency for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
I think Elon Musk was talking about doing the solar thing.
He has a solar company.
Okay.
Yep. Tesla has solar panels. One of the best solar panels.
I heard they're even gonna start making air conditioners. They're expanding to a whole different line. It's great.
Elon is the GOAT.
He's the man right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Elon Musk.
Yeah, and no, shout out to the solar industry. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that if it makes sense for your home, do it. I do solar as sort of like my side niche. And I like helping people. I like helping people get educated on those because there's different services, there's different products, right? There's just solar is a broad thing, is a broad word, but there's a lot of branches under it, just like real estate.
Yep. Yeah. And one thing I noticed about you, bro, like you've always felt you always found joy in helping other people. That's always what you focused on. And
you
like
too,
you
brother.
said,
you too, brother.
Never focus on the money. I was always taught you focus on the value. Where value flows, money goes. You feel me? Obviously, you're someone that has the value. You're someone that's very knowledgeable. So we wanted to thank you for coming out here today, bro. We appreciate all the gems you've dropped. You've created a clear path of education for people that are looking to buy, real estate and people that are looking to get into the real estate world. So we appreciate you for coming out, bro.
Always, brother. Always.
Yeah, man. Maximum respect, man. Appreciate you for coming out, man.
No, the feeling is mutual. You're killing it. Like I always say to you on a personal level, but I'll say publicly now, and I don't mind saying it, I love what you're building. I love from credit to the community to the podcast, everything that you're creating only makes sense, and I know that you're gonna excel for sure. I hope God continues to not only bless you, but all the young entrepreneurs out there listening to this. I think our generation is going to be doing something that's never been seen before. I think we have a lot of access in a lot of different industries than there was before, and that's going to create a lot of different opportunities for us to be very successful in very, very tremendous industry. So if you're a young entrepreneur that wants to get into solar, real estate, entrepreneurship, credit, whatever it is, don't think about it too much. Bet on yourself and do it, because we're the next ones that are going to be taking over. You know, the bloomers are already getting to that age that, you know, they got to pass it down, and they're not going to pass it down to a crazy person. So let's educate ourselves and do what's best for our communities, you know?
Amazing. Thank you, Mickey, for coming over.
Always love and
feeding
respect.
the people with this extra information that they might have needed. And it's always a pleasure, man.
Appreciate it,
Sure.
brother. Appreciate
You
it.
heard it here first. Entrepreneurs on the board. Get busy out.